Hey guys, welcome to another episode of She Knows Arsenal. I'm Jessica. I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at it's Jessinho. It's so hard to say that, but it's down at the bottom of the screen if you guys want to go ahead and follow me. So today I have a very special guest, and I just want to let you guys know that it's 4 a.m. in Los Angeles right now, literally. And you're probably wondering why I'm recording this episode so early. And when I first started the show, I was writing down the potential guests that I wanted to have on the show. And the person that I'm talking to today is one of the first people on that list. And when she said that she wanted to record around 12 p.m. UK time, I was like, okay, that's 4 a.m. LA time, but that's totally fine because today I'm going to be talking to Pippa, Monique. So I have my coffee. I hope you guys are ready. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey,
hello.
Pippa.
Hey, you know what? When I messaged you saying 12 p.m., I didn't at the time I didn't realize you were across the other side of the world. I didn't know.
It's totally fine. I'm a morning person anyway, so it worked out perfectly anyway. So let's go ahead and jump in because I have so many things I want to cover with you because there's always so many things going on with Arsenal. And just a reminder, you guys, like the way the show works is I kind of pull out the current topics going on at the club and compile questions from Twitter to try to get the best possible content for you guys. So one of the biggest things that's happening right now at Arsenal is, of course, the end of an era, which is the end of the Ozil era. And as much as I feel like a lot of people want this to kind of end, it's so hard to talk about this in isolation like it's just any other player leaving because Ozil has been such a divisive figure at Arsenal for pretty much, probably like the last 3 years. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, like, for you, what is Ozil's legacy at Arsenal? Like, it can't all be negative. How do you feel about Arsenal? Ozil, what do you think that he's leaving behind?
I don't have a negative stance on Ozil. It's crazy because I've been talking about Mesut Ozil all morning. I was just on Sky Sports News yesterday and today talking about him. But like, I'm a big Ozil fan, and although what's going on right now is frustrating, not only for fans, especially because there's a lot of fans that don't appreciate him anymore. They seem to forget what he did when he first joined, especially the 2016-17 season with Alexis Sanchez. That people are just forgetting all that. And obviously, we want to move on. We want to do bigger and better. So you can't just keep pining on players that are not playing anymore. But he brought so much to this club. When he first joined, that record signing fee, I was there. The Emirates when Sky Sports was there, and it was announced. It was like we got someone from Real Madrid. It's Mesut Ozil. He used to play with Cristiano Ronaldo, assisting everyone, World Cup winner, all these type of things, right? So, well, not them, but yeah. So when he joined, I was just elated. I don't normally get. Well, back then I never used to get players' names on my shirts. Like it would be the one off like Ian Wright, Henry. I think my dad got me Walcott once upon a time, but I physically went and got an Ozil shirt because I was that excited. And he done so much on the pitch for Arsenal and off the pitch as well. He's a great human being. I've met him a couple of times. He's a really nice, humble guy. But football-wise, one of the best players we've had in a while. Of course, the decline is happening now, only because we're not seeing him play. But even when he played in his last few games, which I think we're safe to say is going to be his last few games now, it wasn't his best performance because I felt like as soon as Alexis Sanchez left, a part of him left. Like there wasn't that partnership there no more. And he hasn't built that midfield partnership with anyone else, so we can't. We haven't seen the best of Ozil. Sorry, I paused when you took the sip.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that. I was really excited when he first got to the club. Like I celebrated like everybody else did, and I think that was a huge moment for Arsenal because we had went through such a kind of like a downturn, before that, and having such a big worldwide superstar come to the Arsenal was really, it was great. I just think that towards the end, it's been such a constant strain between him and the club that it's really hard to remember what he did for Arsenal when he first came in. And it's really unfortunate the way that things kind of unraveled. I mean, in the situation that we're in at the moment, it would be really nice to be able to, even if he were leaving the club at the end of the season anyway, it would be nice to be able to use him, especially with Emile Smith-Rowe being a new kind of player in the squad, not really used to playing so many first team minutes. So it would be nice to have somebody like Ozil to kind of share time with, but it's just not possible. So I do want to ask you, do you think that Ozil is an Arsenal legend? Do you put him in the same category as your Vieiras and Henry's? Like, what do you think about that?
I mean, you can't really put him in the same category as Henry and other Arsenal legends, because they've won big things. And I feel like it's so unfair on Ozil and Arsenal fans and other Arsenal players. But for a luxury player like Ozil to come into the squad and not win anything major, yes, he helped us win a couple of FA Cups, but not winning the league. He's a star signing. He's one of the big players, and you finish in your career at Arsenal and you look back on it and you think, well, all I won was a couple of FA Cups. I didn't really do anything astonishing. I got an assist record, but it's nothing amazing. And I feel like that one thing is ruining it for him. I don't think he'll go down as a legend, but definitely a favourite player amongst many that we'll definitely remember, because he gave us really good moments. So, but a legend, these days we give away that term too loosely. Like we just call it everyone legends. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't think he's a legend yet.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. And when I was thinking about it, because I didn't just want to say, because I did see on Twitter that a lot of people were saying that he is an Arsenal legend, and it's such a sensitive topic. So I didn't want to just be like flippant and be like, no, he's not, because you have to really think about it. He in the Emirates era, he's been probably the most iconic player for Arsenal in that period. So but the way that I describe an Arsenal legend is not necessarily about being the best player. It's about how the fans feel about you, how they felt about you in the shirt. That doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with how great you were as a player, and Arsenal legends are never divisive. They never are. They're usually you may be able to, question whether they were the best person in their position, but you never question how you felt about that player. They're never this divisive. So for him to be as divisive as he is, he just doesn't really fall in that category. But what I do want to say about Ozil is that he's definitely a legend of the game. Those are two completely different things. A club legend and a legend of the game is two completely different things. So I don't want to take anything away from him. I think that that's the differentiator for us right now, is that he may not be an Arsenal legend, but we can't take away the fact that he's probably one of the best creators of his era.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo credited him with making him a better player. I mean, there's no better stamp of approval than that. So but Ozil's been a great player for us, and it's unfortunate the way that things have unraveled, but yeah. And that leads me straight into his predecessor, the next person in line to be the next 10, which is Emile Smith-Rowe. How good has Emile Smith-Rowe been to you in these last couple of games? Do you think that he can fill Ozil's shoes in the short term? And do you think that, maybe we do need to bring in somebody a little bit more experienced? How do you feel about Emile Smith-Rowe and his chances of being the next number 10 for Arsenal?
Well, if he was to base it off of the last 4 games, then he could definitely fill Ozil's shoes and get Ozil to tie them up for him, to be honest with you. But we don't know how he would look for a whole season. I haven't seen him in a long time play a whole season anyway. When he was at Huddersfield, he hardly played games. When he was at Leipzig, I think it was, he hardly played because of an injury. So this is, for me personally, the first time that I'm seeing him get a run of games. And he looks good, and he's creating chances. He's finding pockets of space that only players like Ozil can find. And so that's why he's doing that number 10 role justice. But I don't know if he'll be the next big thing. I want him to, but he's so young. And just like Arteta said, we shouldn't be putting pressure on him. I think, what do the fans call him? They started calling him something.
The Croydon KDB?
That's it. That's the one. Croydon. What is it? Croydon the Emil de Croydon de Bruyne or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter and I was like, what is that what we're doing now? So, and I felt like the pressure of that is too soon. But what he's doing at the moment, you can't deny that he's really filling that role. But I feel like because he's doing it so well, the board are going to think, okay, maybe we don't need to sign another number 10 and like an experienced one. But we have an experienced one. We have Ozil. If we're not using him, it looks like Emile Smith-Rowe is going to have to take take everything on his shoulder, just like Saka is. Saka's taking all the responsibility on his shoulder, and they're both really young boys. So
yeah, I think that it's such a difficult position to be in because you don't want to block Emile's like path with somebody coming in, and for somebody so young and so talented, the last thing you want to do is bring somebody in because essentially what you're saying is we don't believe in you and we want you to kind of go back into the bench. And I think
squad depth.
We do want squad depth, but I think with young players, you're seeing this even with Balogun. They want playing time now. They want to play day in, day out. And for the most part, for most teams, even if you have squad depth, there is kind of like a set starting 11. Maybe a couple players fall in and out, but your creative player, your CDM, your starting center back, your strikers are usually all the same. So when you talk about bringing in somebody, it's really important to make sure that that person, is not going to completely block the path. And I think the best way maybe for the club to do that is to bring in somebody that's not a big name, a big name person that comes in automatically is going to be on big wages. When you give somebody, you pay a lot of money and you give them big wages, you're saying that we're going to play you, so it's a difficult position for the club to be in. I think Ornstein has already said.
Just like Willian.
I can't even get into that conversation today. Like, okay, I just really can't. No I just really can't. I can go on a whole Willian rant. Like, no. But definitely Willian can be, I was talking about this to somebody else that in the meantime, Willian, as poor as he's been, he might be just what Emile Smith-Rowe needs to get him through the season as a backup number 10. In the January transfer window, I don't see like who do you see that we could bring in January? I think we have to kind of just like skip the window and move on. Yeah.
Yes, I think the same thing. I think everyone's thinking that something major is going to happen this transfer window. I'll be surprised if it does, but I don't see anything happening. I don't even think Mezza's going to leave it. I think his agent's pushing for a move to Fenerbahce, but I don't even know if that's likely to happen at the moment because it's taken so long. It shouldn't take this long.
Right.
There's no reason for Ozil to get Arsenal anymore, so it should be a done deal. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of activity for Arsenal, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I think I did read something where Ornstein was saying that the club views Emile Smith-Rowe as the person under the person that they're going to bring in. So I'm not sure if that's going to stay solidified. I don't know if Emile can push his way into that, the person that they're going to kind of bank on and bring somebody underneath him or promote somebody or something like that. But they're just I think we're in a situation where it's like we want to treat Emile Smith-Rowe like we appreciate him, but also protect him at the same time. That's a really hard balance to kind of get, but at the moment I'm really impressed with him. I think that he's been the game changer. I think Martinelli kind of sparked it against Man City with his, aggressiveness and his running off the ball and all that kind of stuff. But I really think Smith-Rowe has been the difference, just having somebody in between the lines and somebody who's picking up those little pockets of space and running off of the striker and stuff like that has really made the difference. So I'm excited to see, what he does. I'm really excited.
Of both those, because you mentioned that Emile Smith-Rowe needs protecting and stuff, and I couldn't agree more because we're lucky to see those run of games that he's had and he's played really well. But from what I've experienced watching Emile Smith-Rowe, he's had a lot of injuries quite close together. Like I said, when he was at Leipzig, he had an injury. When he came back to Arsenal in 2020, he had an injury. I think he had against Nottingham Forest and he was out for a while. Then he had another injury before this season, a shoulder injury. So he definitely needs protecting because the youngsters, well, not all of them, but Martinelli and Emile Smith-Rowe seem to be quite injury prone. So they need all the protection. We can't keep playing them and relying on them. So yeah, definitely I can understand why they would be like understudies.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think we just have to be patient. I think we're really excited to see good young players come through. But, ideally a good young player will, be a starter for us maybe when they turn like 22, 23. We don't need to rush them. The senior players at the moment are not giving us enough. So it's a difficult situation for Arteta to be in. I think we will continue to see Willian and obviously Aubameyang and stuff like that. So, it's not the end for the senior players. And I don't necessarily feel like if we kind of manage the young players it's going to be the end of the world, but that's Arteta and the staffs, that's their task, trying to figure out how we keep the momentum with the young players, but also protect them. So
yeah.
So speaking of young players, I also wanted to, when we talk about like the Sakas and Martinellis and Emile Smith Rowe, the light also kind of shines on some of the other young players that are kind of on the fringe that may not be shining as much as the others. How do you feel at the moment about Willock and Reese Nelson and their Arsenal futures, as it stands? For me, I'm looking at two players that definitely need loans. I don't think they're as bad as people are making them out to seem. Everybody kind of develops in their own way. But how do we move forward with Willock and Reese Nelson and continue to cultivate them, or, continue to help them grow as players, but also look towards the future in terms of maybe sell on and, moving them on and things like that? Like, how do you think that we manage these two players moving forward?
I agree with you, but I think for me personally, I would only choose one of them to go on loan and one of them to be sold. And it hurts me to say this because Joe Willock has been at Arsenal his whole life since he was like 4 years old, something crazy like that. So Arsenal is his whole world. I wouldn't say he's comfortable, but sometimes on the pitch he just looks a bit complacent, like he's made it already. Like he doesn't show me that commitment and that drive. He plays a good game, but he's very inconsistent. And then when he is on the pitch, he doesn't show me that fight like Saka shows me. Like Martin, like those two, Saka and Martinelli, they play like they've never this means everything to them. Willock, maybe it's just his character and his style, but he looks way too relaxed for me, way too comfortable. And I think he's not a bad player. I just think someone like him should play somewhere else right now. Reese Nelson, however, I see serious talent in him. And I don't know why it's not being unleashed. The obvious reason is because he's not getting a run of games. He's not a real first team player like that. But I think if he was to get a loan deal where he was to get at least, let's say, 15 games a season, at least, that's a lot of games actually. But yeah, if he can get that on a loan deal, I think when he comes back, we'll see what he's really made of, because he has everything you need in a winger. His ball carrying skills are amazing. He's got pace, he's got skills, and he's confident. The way he took that penalty in the Community Shield, first to step up and take it and asked to do it, for a young player, like he knows his worth and he knows he's ready to step up. It's just like he's not been given that opportunity at Arsenal. So I think if he gets a really good loan deal, comes back, everyone will be like, oh yeah, I knew he was good, but you didn't, because I'll find your old tweet that you said he was rubbish. So
Exactly. And I do agree with you. I feel like there's a sense of complacency, and I don't know that for sure. It's just from what I'm looking at from the outside. But when you grow up at Arsenal, everything is kind of like there for you, and probably Willock's whole world was making it to the first team. And last season, he had the most appearances out of like any Arsenal player. Like he was a part of the team. But ultimately, like when I look at the difference between Reese Nelson and Willock, I think about the type of team that Arteta is building. And Reese fits more with what Arteta's system is asking, like a player that is technically really good, can keep the ball, technical security, that can play multiple positions, an intelligent player. With Willock, I'm looking at him and I'm trying to figure out where would he fit in the system. Where does he fit in? We're still kind of trying to figure out, like, is he a pivot player? Does he play next to a CDM? Is he box to box? Is he a 10? Does he play off the striker? So
I don't know.
Yeah, with him being not developed enough, it's really hard to justify keeping him here. If he was excellent at what he was doing and he didn't quite fit the system, I feel like we would try to figure out a spot for him. But because he's kind of missing sitters and having off games, I think I would loan Willock out at the very least. I think Reese is going to get loaned out no matter what. Because
I think he deserves it.
Yeah, he does, and he may not want it, but he needs it. I think if I had to choose one, like if I was like, okay, who's going to come back, like you said, and maybe do something, I would definitely pick Reese. But I we have to be careful about saying that their careers are over, because we definitely don't know. They're still young.
I wouldn't say their careers are not over. Definitely, I just don't see a huge. I hope I'm wrong, by the way, because it would be the best story for Joe Willock to have a huge future at Arsenal. Like I said, he's been here his whole life. His brothers grew up at Arsenal. That's how he ended up there as well. It would have been picture perfect if all three of them were in the Premier League tearing up all the Willock brothers. But this is not a fairy tale, you know. So I just don't see a huge future for him at Arsenal. I hope he could prove me wrong and a lot of Arsenal fans wrong, because I just don't see it at the moment. Not saying his football career is over. I can see him at another club, even in the Premier League, maybe like a Crystal Palace or something. But I just don't see him at Arsenal, which is sad to say, because he's a really nice guy.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. So speaking about players who we may have thought their careers at Arsenal were over, I wanted to kind of touch on Rob Holding. You know, Rob Holding was somebody that over the summer was like a step away from going to Newcastle, and Arteta steps in and stops him from going on loan to Newcastle. And now he's a fixture in the back line. You know, he plays well with Pablo Marie. He plays well with Gabriel. He's there, you know. So for you, is there a scenario where Rob Holding is the starting center back for Arsenal, and it just is what it is? He's still young, you know. Is it?
Wait, how old is he?
I think he's 25.
25. Yeah, 25 or something, right?
That's still young for a center back, you know. And we've never really seen him in the Arsenal squad this long. You know, do you think that there is a scenario where he does partner Gabriel, and that is our center back partnership moving forward?
Well, I think it definitely will be now that he's done that contract extension. I know David Luiz did a year or a 2-year extension, which made me think, okay, David Luiz is going to be the starter in the back line. But I think Rob Holding might have just nicked that position from David Luiz, and we'll probably see either Rob pair up with Gabriel or Pablo Mari regularly. But I think Rob Holding's like solid in that position now, which is surprising, because it's not that surprising, because there's been a lot of games, the big games, where he's really showed his worth. Like, we'll never forget his first FA Cup game and against Chelsea at Wembley. Like, you look at this and you think, all right, not even that one, but then the FA Cup game against Chelsea, where he had Diego Costa roughing him up. He turned up in big games, which I like Liverpool last season, him and Sadio Mane going at it twice in both fixtures, home and away. Like, he shows up in big games, but then when he has an off game, it's just like, where did we get this guy from? Like, it's like two different ends of the spectrum. When he shows up, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, and I think the one thing is that I've learned over time is that it's not always about having the best player in that position. Sometimes it's about the best partnership. And if you look around the league, it's not like other teams everybody has a Van Dijk. They don't. You don't have to have the best center back, the world-class center back. Is about the partnership. And I think what Arteta really likes about Holding is his mentality and his quiet leadership, and he can rely on him. Whereas I think we know who Rob Holding is, but on a daily basis.
Can you hear that?
Yeah. Is that me or you?
Is it really loud? It's me. Is it really loud?
A little. What is that?
Oh, it's my cleaner's hoovering.
Don't worry about it. Just
if it's bad, I could just tell it to stop.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Okay.
But with Rob, I just think that like it's okay for him to be who he is. Like, we know what he is. We know he's not going to be, you know, the best center back in the world, you know, and I don't think that that's necessarily an issue as long as he partners Gabriel well, and it gives us an opportunity to work on other parts of the pitch without having to like rush and get another center back, because we don't really know what's going on with Liba at the moment. So if we have kind of like a core of Pablo Marie, Gabriel, Holding, then I think we're good there, you know, and I would like to just kind of see that partnership, you know, be set in stone for a while.
Yeah.
And just kind of see what happens from there, you know.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. I mean, at least we have some type of clarity like what's going on in the back line, and we know we've got some really good defenders there. We just need to sort out that right back position, because we left back is certified, but there's no backup. But then again,
right back means, what's wrong with the right back? What's happening there? I didn't know we had a problem there.
I mean, technically we don't have a problem, but if we're talking about from the fans' perspective, I don't think a lot of the fan base are keen on Hector Bellerin being the starting right back. And then I don't think a lot of the fans are happy that Cedric is now starting before Ainsley Maitland-Niles. So to me, that's the situation.
Yeah, I have my own feelings about Bellerin, and I try not to go so hard on him because I know what he is. Like, I've always known
You
that
don't
he
like
couldn't defend.
Bellerin? Whoa! You're not a fan of Bellerin?
I mean, it's not that I don't like Bellerin. I just know what he is. So when people are still complaining about him not being able to defend, I'm like, he's never been able to defend. But as long as what he's contributing going forward is beneficial to us, then it's fine. If for some reason, like, my biggest fear was that he was going to lose all of his pace. If he had lost all of his pace, I would have been like, yo, we need to get rid, but he's still quick. He still adds something in the final third. He's kind of a leader, I guess, so I'm not like dying to get him out at the moment. I think there's bigger problems at the club. And I do think right back needs to be sorted out. Cedric is not great. Hector might need to be moved on, and Ainsley is not really, we don't really know what's going on with him. So yeah, right back might be something that we want to sort out. But for me, moving forward, like, I kind of want us to figure out what's going on in the midfield. For me, I'm looking at that position and it's just like, what's happening there? Like, that is in my face right now. We have Ceballos, Xhaka, Party, who we haven't really seen, El Neni. We need to address the midfield like immediately. But I get what you're saying about right back. I think that'll get sorted over time. I'm not sure how long Ainsley's going to be at the club, so maybe that will kind of sort some things out, and then we'll just see from there.
Imagine the shock if it's Ainsley that leaves this transfer window, like out of nowhere. It's just like there's no reports, no rumors, and boom, Ainsley's gone to, I don't know, Fulham or something. You're just like,
there's always time for something crazy like that to happen, and he was, linked with a move away in the summer, and I'm having a hard time understanding why we didn't move him on if he wasn't going to play, and I know that he's kind of backup for both sides, but he's not a right back or a left back by trade. And I think he wants to play in the midfield, as he progresses in his career. So he's not going to do that at Arsenal. So, I think we did yesterday we recorded a squad building podcast, and we talked about all of this kind of stuff, like, our inability to kind of build a squad, and we're doing square pegs and round holes and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully we're able to sort that out over time. But right back, center midfield, they all need to get sorted. Yeah.
ASAP.
So kind of like the last thing that I had planned to talk about before we move on to questions is Arteta. So just a couple weeks ago, he was on thin ice, on the edge of the cliff, about to fall off. Like, I know I was like, oh my God, he's got to go. He's done here. I just don't think he can turn it around in nowhere. 4 wins in a row. Have we turned a corner? Do you think that we're seeing, the beginning of us going on a really good run, or do you think that this is kind of another false start? What do you think?
Turned a corner. I don't know if we turned the corner. We're at the junction. And we're looking which way to go. Like, should we turn left, should we turn right, and then we're going to turn the corner. We're approaching the junction right now, and if it continues, then yes, we've definitely turned the corner, and it's going to be the right corner because we're going in the right direction. But I think it's a big shock to me because the games that I felt like on paper we should have won, like the Burnleys and stuff, like I'm thinking, how are we not winning those games? But then we're beating Chelsea on Boxing Day, and it was almost a clean sheet. And I was thinking, wow, 3-0, and then obviously they got the consolation goal, and then we go on a run from there. Then the 4-0 against West Brom as well. These are. It's not the biggest competition against West Brom, but 4 goals, good goals as well. We're seeing really good football. So I don't know what's changed over the last few weeks after Christmas, but whatever they did in their festive period, they need to do that regularly because it's really shaking things up.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, I think this kind of goes back to the Emile Smith-Rowe, the introduction of him.
He's been a difference.
And having just a front four that makes sense, and I do think that front four makes sense, whether it's Martinelli or Aubameyang, but the other 3 pieces are key. Emile Smith-Rowe,
Lacazette,
and Saka on the right. Having that front four is so important. And it almost scares me a little bit to know that moving forward, because of the fixture congestion, that we may not be able to sustain that front four the entire time, because you kind of saw in the Newcastle game that once you shifted a couple of those pieces, it wasn't the same, but whether those were enforced by, Willian and, David Luiz, whatever, being sick or injuries or whatever, I do think that we have to give Arteta a little bit more credit because he still didn't have to choose Emile Smith-Rowe. I think it's unfair to say that
who could have chose?
He could have played, who could he played? He could have played somebody else. He could have played Lacazette at the 10. He could have made it work. He could have played Saka in the midfield. There's other choices. He didn't necessarily, because this whole time he really hasn't been playing with the 10. If you've noticed, like, really hasn't. This is the first time he actually played with the 10. So he could have just kind of continued on with what he was doing, playing Saka off the left, playing El Neni and Xhaka or whoever else, and just continue the same front three. So for me, I've seen that, he was forced into these changes. He didn't have to play Emile Smith-Rowe. I think he did, and it worked out for him, so I'm happy to see that he's flexible. I was a little afraid that Arteta was a little stiff, like, once I get into something, I'm not going to change.
He has that type of character.
Exactly. But
that's what we used to say that about Wenger. He used to be really stubborn. Like, you could see that the game is dying out for a change, and you'll 70 minutes in and you're still not making a substitution. Then 71st minute, we'll make one. It's a bit too late, but never too late to salvage. But I felt like Arteta's doing that same thing where he's just really headstrong in what he believes in. Like, if he didn't take off Willian the other day and Willock against Newcastle, I would have really started questioning him again and his decisions.
I mean, I honestly thought they should have been off at halftime. Like, I was like, I know it's the 60th minute. Like, how you're like, I'm going to give you 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get it together. No. Like, it was so bad that halftime, and I'm glad that Arteta was able to kind of switch things up. I'm not 100% like, I'm never Arteta out or Arteta in. I'm just more like taking it game by game because we just don't.
That is
know.
So something a manager would say.
I don't, because I don't want to like plant my flag, like, because I don't know. I'm still learning about Arteta game after game, and he's showing me things every single. Sometimes I don't like what he does, and other times I do. But I think he saved himself a little bit by making changes. But we'll see, because we're gonna get into like a really tough period after. Well, now starting now with Crystal Palace, we're gonna get into more tough games. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. And so I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what is a good season for Arteta? Like, considering where we are right now. What position, or, is it silverware? What would make this a decent or good season for Arteta, in your opinion?
In my opinion, what would make this a really good season for him is to win silverware again. If he was to win the Europa League, that's already a good season. If he was to retain his cup in the FA Cup, that's an even better season. If we were to finish within the top 6, as silly as that sounds now, because we normally finish, a bit higher, but in recent years it's not been that way. But if he was to do either one of those three, win the Europa League, retain the FA Cup, or finish within the top 6, or all three, then that's a really good season for him. I mean, top 4 would be amazing, but that's not going to happen right now, is it?
Dang, I was thinking like my I was a lot lower than that.
Yeah, I mean, we might finish like 8th again or 9th.
I'm like, okay, 8th, that'll be good. Like, because I just don't see it. But
so would you be happy, like, if we won the Europa League but finished like 9th? Not happy, but like, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I think so. Because if you're winning silverware, and when you win the Europa League, you're in Champions League, so
of course,
I would definitely take that. I would, if you told me that was the option, I'd bite your hand off for it. Like, I would, I would, but I think realistically, when I'm looking at the Europa League, we couldn't have gotten a harder draw. We got Benfica. So I'm like, and knowing that Arteta kind of went out in the same round last season, I would like to see him get further than that. We're a good cup team. Like, we're specialists in the cups, so I would imagine we could get a little bit further. But for me, if Arteta could break into the Europa League spots in the league and maybe win the FA Cup, to me, I would probably be okay with that. Knowing what I know, seeing what I saw, he's just had so much drama.
Being 15th for a while, 14th, like that would really lift me up.
On the brink of relegation, I'm like, okay, if I get into Europa League, I think I'd be okay with that. But, I don't think Arteta's tenure has really started. I still think that he's had so much drama that I can judge him on this season, but I think next season, when we've kind of gotten rid of some of the dead wood and, had a full preseason, if the season doesn't get pushed back too much, maybe then I'll be a little bit more hard on him. But right now, he's been through too much. He's been through so much, As a new manager, he's been through so much.
Yeah,
so now I kind of want to go through some of there's been some really good questions that came through that people wanted to ask you. And I want to know
about football, right?
About football, yes.
Okay. Because I literally hate talking about myself. I'm just like, oh god. When you get asked those questions, like, what's your proudest moment? You're like, well, I've been on the earth so many. I can't think. Like, how? You're just on the spot. You're like, I can't think right now. And then after, you're like, oh, I wish I said that.
So yeah, it's gonna be Arsenal related, but I picked out the best because kind of a lot had come through. So I wanted to pivot just a little bit into the Arsenal women. I watched them too, and I know you're well versed in this topic because you have your women's show, and can you just really quick tell me how do we find the women's show? Like, just plug it really quick, just so people know where they can find that.
So it's a weekly show on AFTV. It normally comes out. Because things have changed so much due to COVID, it used to be a midweek show where we'd talk about all of the weekend's fixtures in the WSL. And then on match days, on Sundays, I'll be at the games, giving you match day coverage and post-match interviews with players. But that's all changed now. So now it's just a weekly show that I film from home, still giving you the lowdown on the whole of the WSL, mainly on Arsenal. And it normally is after their game. But because the men's and women's games have been clashing like on Sundays a lot, I tend to now do the games, the show beforehand. So it doesn't like be too, because on AFTV it will just get congested and you'll just miss the video because you rather care about the fact that we lost 1-0 to Burnley and watch all those videos. And you're not going to be looking for the women's show. So so now it would have been last week I would have filmed one, but the fixtures were all cancelled due to this COVID-19 outbreak in the squad. So next week we're back, hopefully.
Okay, awesome. So you guys heard it there. That's how you're going to watch Pippa. She's going to talk about the WSL, all that kind of good stuff. Check that out. But the question is, Joe in or Joe out? I see that Arsenal is in third place at the moment. And I think that they're doing decent this season. So I didn't think that maybe his job was, maybe on the line. Or what do you think about him? Do you think he should stay? Do you think there's a better coach out there? Like, what do you think about him?
I have never personally had any problems as Joe as manager, but there is a fan base out there that are not too keen on him. And I think the last time I heard this whole Joe out saga was the fact that they felt like, again, like we was talking about earlier, too stubborn in terms of squad depth. They felt like we never had a big enough squad to compete, especially last season when we was in the Champions League. And that's probably that wasn't the reason why we was out against PSG. I just think it was bad timing with everything that was happening. But a lot of fans have complained about the lack of squad. And if you look to the Continental Ties Cup final last year, I'm so confused with years right now because all the seasons are messed up. But I think it was last year. I was there at Bramall Lane. Was it Bramall Lane? Girl, I'm losing my mind. But last year against Chelsea, Continental Ties Cup final, Chelsea had about maybe, if I remember correctly, 5 or 6 or more players on the bench, and we had 2 or 3, and they were all academy players. Like they weren't regular players. Some fans may not even know who they were if you don't watch women's football regularly because they're not first team starters. Some of them haven't even played in that season, and we just didn't have a bench because we had injuries and we don't have a big squad. So I think that's the main reason why there's this whole Joe in, Joe out stuff. But from since he's been here, I think he's done a marvelous job. He's won the league. He's qualified for Champions League. He's I mean, he could do better, of course, but the league's getting more competitive, and I think that's what people are forgetting. I mean, you just can't walk away with an easy win no more. You've got Chelsea, who's been good for years, Man City, who's been good for years, and now Man United, who really new to the league, only 2 years in, and now they're top of the league. I think they're still unbeaten, and so it's not the same league anymore. So it's not going to be a walk in the park. So yeah, I'm Joeing, by the way.
So I mean, it's like I'm not as deep into everything that's going on. Like I wouldn't have known that there was like a Joe in or a Joe out type of scenario. I just like when I watch the Arsenal women, I think that they're obviously a great team, and what they do really well is they dominate the lesser teams all the time. When they get on a roll, they will kill you. Like they're very, very good. But I did notice the lack of squad depth right away. When I watch the Chelsea women or when I watch Man City women, the first thing I think is like, they got a whole another team. Literally.
They got options.
And good squad depth as well. So that's something that I did notice. So, and I'm not necessarily sure if that's a Joe problem. I think that's, that's a club thing. It's not just him. I don't think any coach is in charge of just building the squad and having more squad depth. So, but they're in third place. They're doing
quite tight.
It's not like anybody has ran away with it. I mean, I think that the top three has a little bit of space between them and the next couple, so I'm doing well. And I love watching the women play. Like I really, really do.
I can't wait till they're back.
Yeah, Tobin Heath is one of my favorite players. So seeing her play for Manchester United, devastating, but it's also so nice to see her resurgence as a she's 31 years old now.
You would never think. If I didn't know her, I would say like, she's 24, 25.
And she's completely changed her game. She's always been a very skillful player, very good on the ball, but she's changed the way that she played because, during the World Cup, she didn't have the best World Cup. And I think in order to stay on the US women's team, she knew that she needed to kind of change it up a little bit, because the new girls are so good at like pressing and the tactics and all that. She's really elevated her game, and I love watching her play. I love watching Sam Mewis play for Man City. I really wish that there was a U.S. women's player on Arsenal. That would just.
I know. I was thinking, how did we miss out on that one? It seems like everyone's got. Well, not everyone, but like there's a lot of you. What's your thoughts? There's a lot of U.S. national team players that came over. Rose Lavelle as well. Like it was nice to see for the women's Super League to do that.
Yeah, I think that it's a good thing, and I've always been like very into the US women leaving the US and going to the UK or Europe in general and playing, because I personally think that the French women and the English women are so good, and playing in those leagues, being amongst the best players in the world is only going to keep the US women on top, and if they continue to just play against each other, then they're not going to get that really good competition that they need. The WSL is the best league. It's the most competitive at the moment. So the more US women play in that league, I think the better chances the US women have to stay on top. I love that they came over. I wish Alex could have stayed a little bit longer, but I know her time at Tottenham was not as long as it could have been. But I
really feel like that's going to be forgotten about, As big as it was, as big as the story that it was, I feel like it's going to be forgotten about because I was like, I didn't do
so much time to get up to speed, so by the time she started playing, it was like, oh, time is up, so then she left. So, but I'm hoping that over time, at least she did, but then I was like, Tottenham, like, like not even just like they're not the best team in the, so I was like, I didn't think it was a good fit anyway, but
it didn't make no sense.
Yeah. So the next question is, let's see. So the question is, 2 or 3 years from now, who from the current squad is still here and part of our main 11? And who do you see as our key players?
Okay, so if you can hear me,
I can.
2 or 3 years from now, bearing in mind if those players do not get sold or nicked from us, the players that I still see at Arsenal 2 to 3 years' time are Bukayo Saka, Kieran Tierney, Emile Smith Rowe, Gabriel Magalhaes. Who else? 2 to 3. I mean, well, Aubameyang's contract ends in that time, but I don't know if that'll probably be the end of the end of him there. I don't know, you know. I mean, I think he'll still be here, but I think. I mean, yeah, he's still quite young. He's like 27 or 28 or something, isn't he? Who else?
So you didn't say Martinelli, did you?
I didn't, because for some reason, I mean, I want. He's one of the people I would have added as well, but every time I said one of those players' names, every time I said a new name, I'm thinking, oh, someone's going to take them. Like, I said Saka first, and I thought, oh God, but what if he's not here? Then I said, you know, Tierney, I think, oh God, what if someone takes him? That's when I thought, oh, I'm losing belief now. I was meant to say Martinelli, but as I was saying, I was thinking, I think they're all just going to get taken from us. I think they're all just going to go.
I think we have Martinelli for 2 or 3 seasons max.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think, you know, and it's not a bad thing. I think that we have to be okay with knowing that some players will eclipse us, you know, at a certain point. We're rebuilding, and if Martinelli gets to 22, 23 years old and he's played for Arsenal and he becomes the player that we think he's going to be, the big boys are going to come and they're going to take us away.
Yeah,
but
100%.
We'll be able to go, okay, well, 100 million, you know.
Yeah. Give me the money.
With our chest out, like 100 million, you know, without having to blink, you know. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think I agree with you. Like 3 or 4 players maybe that you can really.
It's not that many.
It's really not. We are really in a rebuild. Like we really.
Yeah.
We are really.
No, but we've been rebuilding, because if you look 3 to 4 years ago, how many players in our current squad that are players from 3 or 4 years ago? Only like Bellerin, Rob Holding, Ozil, and I think Lacazette. Like, who else?
Lacazette.
There's not that many players that was it. And obviously some of the youth players. Obviously some of the youth players, but I'm talking like first team players. Like, yeah.
We can rebuild every
year.
We're always in a rebuild. We're rebuilding
every season. We've been rebuilding since 2002, 2004.
Pretty much, and we've been failing at it. Like, it's just Arsenal. Yeah. Hopefully, this is the real rebuild, the real one.
Hopefully.
So I did agree with you about 2 or 3 players are probably going to be here. And the last question, I thought it was a really good question, but I'm going to change it a little bit because I'm interested to know. So the question was, who's your favorite Arsenal player? But I want to know who's your favorite past Arsenal player, your favorite current Arsenal player, and your favorite Arsenal women's player.
Oh, do you know what's crazy? Like, I don't actually have a favorite player right now. Someone asked me, I think, somebody asked me like 3 months ago. And I think on the spur of the moment, because we just beat Man United, I said Thomas Partey or El Neni. But I don't know, man. I don't have a current favorite player right now. I literally said that because they asked me on 24 hours after we beat Manchester United, and I thought, oh, yeah. But right now, current favorite Arsenal player, it would have to. Oh, I'm lying. It has to be Bukayo Saka. It's Saka. It's Saka. Past, I mean, that goes without saying why it's Saka. He's been really consistent since January 2020. So yeah, I have to give it to him. And past, there's too many. If we're talking within the last 10 years, I would say either Santi Cazorla or Aaron Ramsey. If we're talking the generation like just before that, what year are we in then? Like that 10-year period before that, I would say either like, I mean, the past players that are definitely my favourites are Vieira and Bergkamp, and of course Henry, Ian Wright. There's two. Like, if we go back, there's too many to count. Yeah, there's too many to count. So yeah, but in the last 10 years, it's going to be Aaron Ramsey or Santi Cazorla.
Okay. Yeah. You can stay, Pippa. You can stay.
What do you mean I can stay?
I mean, depending on who you chose, we might have. This might have been the last time that we streamed together. No, I'm just.
Why? Joking. Who did you think I was going to choose?
I don't know. I hear crazy things. Like, Aubameyang, he's not somebody that I would ever choose.
Oh, I didn't even mention him, but I really do like Aubameyang. I do like Aubameyang a lot.
He's, Lacazette, he's been spotty as well,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I think Carzola is a really good choice, like a
Yeah,
really, really good
100%.
choice for sure, and women, like who's your favorite women's player for Arsenal right now?
So even that, right now, there's too many to choose from, but the top three, this is so bad because I love them all, but I'd have to say Beth Mead, one of
Yeah,
the best number nines in the league. Vivian
yeah,
Miedema, her records. I mean, to be fair, if anyone hasn't watched Arsenal women's football, they'll be like, oh, but I know Vivian Miedema, though. I've heard of her, like, because she is the GOAT. Like, it goes without
yes.
saying. And I really, really like Kate. Oh, there's too many, Jess. So I like Katie McCabe because she's very versatile. And when she's playing defensively as well, the ball she whips in defensively, she's good. But I also really love Kim Little in the middle, like one of
That's
the
my
best
girl.
midfielders. But I
That's my
love Leah
girl.
Walter in the middle as well. Like, and then I love
There's
Leah
a lot.
Williamson. And I also like Jordan Nobbs. So
So the
I might as
team,
well name the whole starting 11, like, because at this point it's pretty much everyone. But yeah,
I
definitely Beth
mean,
Mead's up there.
that's, those are all really good options, like I
Mhm.
think that their team is just so strong and they're such likable characters, so
That's how you know the team's doing well. Because you ask me for the women's team and I can't choose. You ask me the men's team, I can literally choose out of 2 or 3 people.
I get
It's the
you.
difference. That's the difference.
So they wanted me to answer the question too, so
Go
I'll
on,
answer.
yes, please. I want to know.
Um, Current by far and has been since the first time he touched the field for Arsenal is Kieran Tierney. Like
Okay, yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
obsessed. I'm obsessed with Kieran Tierney.
yeah.
Like he's like my favorite. Like I
I can't
cannot
believe I didn't
explain.
mention him.
Like I cannot explain. Like I've wanted a player like that for so long, and
Yeah.
after Ashley Cole left, we had the Cleachies and the Gibbs and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
The Monreal, the Andre Santos. The whole.
Can I just say, Giroud must be screaming after he sees all the crosses that Gibbs puts in. I mean, not Gibbs, sorry, Kieran
And
Tierney puts into the box right now. Like
well,
Giroud would be screaming for those type of balls.
Tierney is being robbed of so many assists. Like robbed.
Literally, like honestly, like daylight robbery.
It's
Daylight robbery. I can't believe I didn't mention him. Like Kieran Tierney, yes, definitely one of
Kieran
my current
Tierney,
players.
the mentality, and I think though he'll go down like in history as being like, the Tesco bag and the
Playing in
the
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 snow.
the snow and all that kind of stuff. But he's such a good player. And one thing that I'm really happy that Arsenal fans are able to see now that they weren't able to see before is he's technically really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. He's not just a push it past you kind of like straight line
Yeah.
merchant like Kolasinac. Like he
Yeah,
has
yeah,
he has a lot about him that's he can hit a through ball. He's really good in our interplay when we're building up on the left-hand side. And hopefully he'll be here for a long time. Like he's
yeah,
somebody that I
hopefully.
would say out of the entire team that I think could become an Arsenal legend. You
Yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah.
stays
Definite
and
next captain.
yes, I love Kieran Tierney. Like I have nothing bad to
Yeah,
say about
same.
him. I mean, even in his worst games, he's dropping sevens. Like
Yeah,
he's amazing.
yeah.
So for past, um, probably would have to be Pires,
Oh, of
which is
course, yes.
which is like
Bobby.
I think that what I liked about him when I first started, because when I first started watching Arsenal, like it was like 2002.
Mm-hmm.
So which is a really good time to start watching Arsenal, obviously, because they
Yeah.
were so dominant. But what I liked,
Glory Hunter. No, I'm joking.
look,
I'm joking.
you know,
Everybody loved Arsenal back in the day.
hey, because at that time, also in like America, they only showed Manchester United and Arsenal, so you had to choose between the two.
Yeah, I think someone told me that. I think that's why there's so many like globally like United and Arsenal fans.
Exactly. And at first, I started watching Manchester United, and then I saw Arsenal, and I was like, nope, I don't even like them
This
anymore.
is
This
the
is the
one.
team.
This,
This is the
this
team that
is
I
the
like.
one.
And Pires, what I liked about him was that, like, I like players that are kind of like on the outside. They're the obscure players. Like people don't really know what they did, but they knew
Yeah.
that they were there.
Mm-hmm.
He was always there for the tap in. He wasn't really athletic, but he was really good on the ball somehow. And he was just
Yeah.
always there when he needed to be there. He
Mm-hmm.
saw the pass and was just alone in the box, there to just tap it in. And I love that about Pires. I really do.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was a really good player for us. And for me, like, even though he wasn't the Vieira or the Thierry, I thought he was integral to that team. And I love him. Love him to death. And for the women, gosh.
There's so many to choose from.
Probably Little. Probably Kim Little.
Yeah,
Like,
Kim Little,
the
yeah,
first time I saw her play, I was like, she's lit. Like, she's so good because even though she's creative and she can do the pretty stuff, she does the hard work too. She tracks back and puts in good tackles, and she's a leader, like a real true leader on that team. Like, she's so good. Like, I like her a lot. And probably Beth Mead for sure. I think she's lit. Like, every single time I watch her play, I'm like, oh, she's really good. Like, I really do like her a lot. But the team is really good and it's really hard to choose. So, yeah. But Pippa, it looks like we're at like almost an hour. This has been such a good conversation with you.
I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. Like, this was so awesome. And like I was saying in the intro, like, you were probably the first name that went on my list. I was like, I got to get Pippa. I got to get her on the show, you know, talking about the Arsenal. And, you know, thank you so much for giving me some of your time. And
you call me at a good time, trust me. Like, I'm at home these days. I still got loads of things to do, but like, I feel like I can organize my time a lot better because I'm just at home in lockdown.
Well, I mean, I'm not happy that there's lockdown, but I'm glad that I was able to, you know, sneak in, you know, and steal some of your time. So just let everybody know where they can find you in the internets.
So on socials, it's Pippa_Monique on everything. But I'm doing American accents now, on everything. And it's Pippa Monique on YouTube as well. So yeah, my name pretty much.
Okay, awesome. Well, you guys, that's the end of the show. Make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel. That really helps us get more views and grow the channel over time. So if you guys like the episode, please let us know in the comment section, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.